Have with us the senior persons from the banking industry. With this few words, I welcome you all and I request the chairman to take it further. Vijay.
Good evening, seniors in profession, President Paras Bhai, our distinguished speakers and guests today. I welcome you all to this very off-beat topic, but gaining very much importance in our profession relating to MSMEs. And I am having great pleasure today to welcome the distinguished dignitaries from banking sector. Let me introduce one by one each of them having achieved great heights in their career in the banking industry. Today we have seniors in this banking faculties. Our chief guest today, Srimati Rekha Nayak from Union Bank of India, General Manager Corporate Communication and Publicity Department of Union Bank of India. She joined Union Bank of India in the year 1977 at a very young age of 18 while she was still studying at Sydenham College of Commerce and Economics in Mumbai. Over the period of time, she has risen from the level of scale 1 to scale 7 and is presently working as General Manager with Union Bank of India. She has worked mostly on operational side and has headed number of rural, semi-urban, urban and metro branches. She has also managed Mumbai and Surat regions of bank in the capacity of regional head. She is also overseeing Union Bank Social Foundation, which takes care of corporate social responsibility of the bank, which is prime concern today, especially in view of new amendments coming in various law. I request all of you to welcome her with the loudest applause. Thank you for sparing the time, and I request President Paras Bhai to hand over a memento as a mark of our appreciation. Welcome, madam. Welcome to our chamber.
Thank you.
I welcome Shri KVS Shyam Sundar, who is FCA. He started his career with Union Bank of India in 1975, promoted as General Manager in 1996. Friends, in his long span of career, he has come across various aspects of banking with Bank of Punjab, Dena Bank, and later with other banks like Oriental Bank of Commerce. He is having very wide biodata, and I'll just highlight few of his achievements in his great career. He worked in the various capacities as zonal head of Union Bank of India in Mumbai zone and also headed department in central office. He was appointed as nominee director of the bank on Banaras State Bank Limited and SBI Factors Limited. At Punjab Bank of India, he was appointed as joint executive vice president and circle head in September 2002 in charge of Western Circle. In Dena Bank, he took up assignment in January 2005 as advisor, and thereafter in the year 2006 he left that banking assignment and came into full-fledged practice as a CA with Singrodia Goyal and Company, very well known to all the members. He joined as partner in 2006 and he built bank audit cell in the firm to look after the concurrent audit, statutory audit, revenue audit, stock audit and risk-based audit. Presently, they are in association with most of the public sector banks, cooperative banks and few private sector banks. He is also on the board of various limited companies, and I welcome you, sir, to our chamber. And I request President Paras Bhai to present a memento as a mark of our appreciation to Shri Shyam Sundar. Welcome, sir. As I mentioned to you, we have one more distinguished speaker today, Shri S. Ramakrishnan Iyer. He is Chief Manager and Faculty Member at the Management Development Institute of Bank of India, CBD, Belapur. He is BCom and CA IIB. He is having 35 years of solid operational banking experience. 15 years as branch manager, 5 years as credit manager, 2 years as officer in Forex department and in general banking administration. Friends, his experience as faculty, he has been invited at NIBM, RBI, Punjab National Bank, IDBI. And I request our committee advisor Shri Praveen Virar to present a memento to Shri Ramakrishna Iyer. A special thanks to him. He was communicated to take over this just 2 days before, and he didn't agree because our earlier faculty had some last moment problem, and he immediately agreed to our request, and at very short notice he has come. So welcome you, sir. And we have our one distinguished accompany to Shri Iyer, and we are happy to invite Shri Chandra Mouli, who is Deputy General Manager of Nariman Point branch of Bank of India. We welcome him to our study circle, to the chamber, and I request Praveen to recognize him with a memento in the form of bouquet. Welcome, Mr. Chandra Mouli. It's our pleasure to receive you. With this introduction, may I first request Srimati Rekha Naik to take over the proceedings and give her opening remarks on the subject.
Thank you. Mr. Shyam Sundar, all the dignitaries and all the chartered accountants present here, a very good evening. A very good evening to all.
Very good evening.
Yeah.
Very good evening.
I feel I am having a privilege and I am proud and having a privilege to be here with all of you. And I am feeling privileged because when I was studying in Sydenham College, I was always feeling that I should become a chartered accountant. But it so happened that I got just like that I applied in Union Bank and I got a call from Union Bank. Then there was a discussion, what should I do, whether I should join Union Bank or what. Then in those days parents are always feeling that public sector bank is always good and it is from their point of view it is good bank, when you are getting opportunity why not join the bank. And then I joined the bank. But even after joining the bank I was feeling why should not I become a chartered accountant and try to study, earn and learn. But as you people know, when you are doing chartered accountancy, it is a full time. You cannot go for a job and do it. So then I took a banking as a career. But that feeling was always there that I wanted to be a chartered accountant. But now when I'm with you and when I come here as a chief guest, that's why I thank Mr. Shyam Sundar for giving me such a wonderful opportunity. Because at least that 10% of it I feel privileged. I'm with chartered accountant fraternity. And I feel proud because Union Bank, as you know, is a very big bank and which is which has grown over a period of time. We, as you know, Union Bank history that it is a 96-year-old bank and we are always a profit-making bank and we are always we are having our own principles and we have grown over a period. Now we are more than 5 lakh crore bank. And I am very happy that our Bank of India, normally Union, we always say Union Bank of India. So Bank of India is within us only. So my Bank of India colleagues are also there. And a very important thing is that Bank of India colleague, Mrs. Iyer, she is a Union Bank product. And she is also, we have also grown together. So now coming back to today, we are here to talk about MSME. But since the experts are like Mr. Iyer, Mr. Shyam Sundar, Mr. Chandra Mouli and all of you chartered accountants are here, I feel I will not touch upon that subject very much because they will be talking on that. And what more to say, tell to you chartered accountant because you are the people who are giving us the business. You are the people who bring because we bank one good customer. And when especially I am a totally operational side person and always I have got a total support from chartered accountant, whether they are my statutory auditors, whether my internal auditors, whether for the business. And especially after going to Surat, I came to know that the chartered accountant play a very important role in Surat. Because whenever I used to talk to any MSME, because now Union Bank has given more, as government has also given, and first Union Bank has also given importance to the MSME sector. Because as you know, MSME, when you say we have to, India as a whole, we have to go to a inclusive growth. And when you have to do inclusive growth, I feel MSME contributes a lot to the economic growth of India. So if you have to, as a country, if you have to grow, we have to see that even every small person who is working in a rural, who are having a art, see, there are many people who are having a capacity, caliber, but they don't have capital. And because of their illiteracy or because they are not literate, it becomes difficult for them to get a finance. And then they end up taking from the money lender, and then what happens, by the time their break even comes, they break. Before the break even comes, they break. So now it is a duty of a banker to be a friend, a philosopher, guide to these people. But being a banker, we cannot go every nook and corner. We try to open our rural branches are there, everything is there. But if you chartered accountants who are dealing with their account and you bring the customers to us, so we are thankful to you people. You people are also giving us the business. You also correct us where we are right, wrong. So I feel chartered accountants are also the partners in our growth. So this MSME are now coming back to MSME. Union Bank has really done a wonderfully well in MSME sector. Every year we have grown 20%. Means in 2013 we have grown 20%. Last year we have grown around 23%. So we feel that when we grow in MSME, it gives us a sustainable growth, and it adds to the employment of the country. Means so many jobs are being created. Then so many, every person is getting opportunity to have a living. So we have to grow, and I feel now I request all of you to be with Union Bank is a great bank. I feel I will not take much of a time, already it is so late. So Union Bank is a very great bank. We got lot many schemes for MSME. So any good customers, you please try to give us. Today in Bank of India people are also there. I will say you give us Union Bank of India. So both Union and Bank of India will get. So thank you, and I will take this opportunity to thank my mentor, Mr. K.V. Shamsundar, because when I was as a young girl, when I was working as a branch manager, he was my general manager, and he is the person who has given me good mentoring, good grooming, and today he is the person who has given me an opportunity to be here. I thank all of you for giving me such an opportunity, and I request you that Union Bank is a good people to bank with, best people to deal with, and excellent people to manage with. So be with us, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Now I request Shri Ramakrishna Iyer to take over further proceedings on the topic MSME finance, bank finance options and strategies for MSMEs. Welcome, Mr.
Thank you, sir. So very good evening to all of you. So at the outset, I offer my sincere thanks and gratitude to this tax chamber for having conferred me an opportunity to be present here before this distinguished and elite and erudite gathering to present a few facts about the MSME. So actually, I am here by not design, probably by some quirk of fate, as it is called. So some distinguished stalwart was to have come here. So probably everybody expected Sachin Tendulkar to back, come to see, but to see Ashish Nehra here. Anyway, without further prelude, I will go straight away into the presentation because the time is already very late. I don't want to hold you ransom for late into the night. So the topic is MSME. So we know that India is a very populous country with huge unemployment population. So naturally the government social objective is to create maximum employment at the minimum investment of capital. So to be effective, per capita of capital invested should create additional employment. That is the social objective of the government. So MSME is the best way to go forward to fulfill this social objective. So as far as the bank is concerned, so this social objective is a great opportunity. Somebody's opportunity is somebody's objective. So this MSME policy issued by the government, it is a great opportunity for the banking industry. So when the bank goes for a corporate loan, the corporates are people with financial muscle. So naturally they will always bargain for the best. So MSMEs generally are an unorganized or rather disorganized sector. So they do not carry that much bargaining power when compared to the professionally run, well-managed corporate. So this is one aspect which the government took into consideration while formulating the policies for MSME. So MSMEs are broadly classified into three types of accounts, like medium. First is the micro, then small and medium enterprises. So the classification is based on pure investment, the original investment in plant and machinery. For the broad classification consists of manufacturing activities and non-manufacturing, let us say, the services activity. So the manufacturing activity there is a threshold limit for original investment for the purpose of classification. For example, a micro unit in a manufacturing sector is classified if the original investment in plant and machinery is up to 25 lakhs. And the unit becomes a small unit, small enterprises, if the original investment in plant and machinery is above 25 lakhs but goes up to 500 lakhs. And beyond 500 lakhs, we have the classification of a medium industry. So in the services sector, the classification is 10 lakhs for micro and up to 200 lakhs, above 10 lakhs, up to 200 lakhs, the original investment in equipment, because there is no plant and machinery in a service-oriented unit. So the original investment in equipment up to 200 lakhs is classified as small, and subsequently beyond 200 lakhs up to 500 lakhs it is classified as a medium. So this is the broad classification to be done when we are financing a unit under the MSME. Now as per the latest RBI classification of priority sector, so these medium enterprises were previously outside the purview of this priority sector lending. Now they have also been brought within the purview of priority sector lending as per the latest RBI guidelines. So medium enterprise, any loan to medium enterprise also will classify as priority sector. So the idea is that when the priority sector, we speak of priority sector, there is always a pressure from the government, there is a thrust on financing. So naturally the banks have a target oriented pressure. Naturally we are very much interested in financing for these sectors. So MSMEs play a very vital role in our economy. They are the engine of growth, as I said. So per capita of investment, so it generates more employment. Even in a capital intensive industry, so naturally the return on capital is the primary criteria of an investor. So naturally he would go for capital intensive and more automated thing rather than job creation. The primary objective is cost cutting. So his objective is cost cutting, naturally not employment generation. So employment generation is incidental rather than by design. So because of that, the government promotes this MSME sector to the hill, and banks are a medium through which this promotion takes place. Flow of uninterrupted and needy credit to this sector. And this is the basic statistics about the MSME sector. They employ about 60 million employees, skilled, semi-skilled, unskilled, all together. And they are spread over about 28 million enterprises. So the number of enterprises are huge. And they contribute about 45% of the output, 45% of the manufacturing output of the country. That is a huge, sizable proportion. When you consider the total manufacturing output, they contribute a huge proportion. And 40% of the exports are contributed by them, roughly. The statistics are roughly. And towards GDP contribution, they contribute 9%. So this is the contribution and the value of the MSME sector to the Indian economy as a whole. So naturally, as a banker, being in the economy a vibrant player, we cannot be out of this entire financing gamut. India has only 5.18% of the registered and unregistered have availed finance. So the people who have availed formal finance, it is in a survey, it was found out that hardly 5% of the MSME units have formal tie-up for finance from the bank or any other non-banking formal channels. So 2% of the finance are from institutional source, and 92% depend on either self-finance or finance from unorganized source like money lenders, private financiers at usurious rate of interest. So this actually is a great gold mine of an opportunity for the bankers. So naturally we should try to capitalize on this opportunity so that this sector becomes more vibrant and contributes to the social output as well as the economic growth of the country. So naturally today's MSMEs of yesterday are the large corporate, and today's large corporate, they can get converted into the future MNCs. So everything has a small beginning, isn't it? So naturally, so what was yesterday, so Ambani started with a capital of only 10,000 rupees, it is said. And many of the banks were reluctant to lend to Mr. Dhirubhai Ambani at that time. Because it was said, whether we do not know, it is, but it is documented. So whatever it is, now Ambani Group owns enough financial clout and resources to own a bank, to buy a bank. That is how it happened. So as I said, this is the classification. So up to 25 lakh for micro, if it is in the manufacturing sector, and 500 lakh original investment in plant and machinery, up to 500, it classifies as a small enterprise, and beyond that it is medium enterprise up to 1,000 lakh or 10 crores. And if it is in the services sector, 10 lakh, 200 lakh and 500 lakh. So the original investment, so on what basis we make this original investment, how do we compute? So we, in case of an audited balance sheet wherever it is available, we take it on the basis of an audited balance sheet. So that forms the, it is not the WDV, naturally it is the original investment. And where it is not there, naturally the project cost will form the basis upon which we conclude or determine the original cost of the investment. So what are the items? There are certain exclusions and inclusions in this original cost of investment. For example, if it's an imported item, so the excess duty and all other imported duty including the freight can be capitalized and treated as part of the original cost. But other than that, any other expenses like erection charges, etc., which are not directly adding to the value of this machinery or the item imported, has to be excluded, cannot be included. So the inclusible items are only this much. Similarly, in the case of service-oriented industries, so the original cost of equipment has to be taken, but so the MSMED Act under which this definition is given. We call it as the regulatory definition. We call it as the regulatory definition of an MSME. So, under this regulatory definition, the furniture and fixtures are not part of the equipment in case of neither. Naturally, it doesn't form part of the machinery, but it also doesn't form part of the equipment in case of a service-oriented unit. Because the unit classification is important because we offer a lot of concession, bankers, especially in the rate of interest, in respect of margins, and in the various financial ratios which we take for determining eligibility as well as for credit risk pricing of the account. So, this classification into MSM of micro, small and medium is relevant from the point of view of giving benefits to these units in terms of rate of interest, proposal processing charges and various other concessions. Yes, sir.
Sir, in case of service vertical, which equipment will qualify more particularly for CA category?
So, equipments which are required for the actual running of the unit. Equipments which are directly required. But
Computers and all will qualify?
computers can qualify, it is a computer lab and all, otherwise it will not qualify.
No, so basically is it CS can avail or will be out of it?
No.
To CA who are running their professional firms, services, whether they will qualify under this tag
Computer for chartered
or
accountant.
requiring the finance?
Yes. For a CA, because without computer actually it is not possible at all. So this can be included as part of the, yes.
So any other?
That means you should invest a minimum of 10 lakhs also.
Understood?
So if
Yeah.
the investment in the plant and machinery or the equipment which you are going to have as a service industry, if it is in excess of 10 lakhs, then it will come to micro enterprise. And to the extent of 10 lakhs, then if you are going to invest, then actually it is possible. 10 lakhs means how much? Maybe 20-25 computers. And that is the requirement of the CA office. Then definitely you are also fall under the service sector.
So mainly it is in relation to computers and that only.
Yeah.
So no other thing will come.
The MSMED Act excludes only the furniture and fixtures. So computers are generally considered into the furniture and fixtures category. So equipment, it is part of equipment. So we can classify accordingly.
Once CA can avail this.
Yeah,
We can.
we have actually there is two. One such.
Do you include books also?
Pardon?
Books also you do include?
I don't.
We have lot
Cost of
many
book,
books.
no, books, no.
Softwares, because we need to have similar softwares also. So does it qualify?
Yeah, certain accounting software if you are purchasing etc.
There are
That
many tax laws, journals and all.
Software also has to be included.
it has to, when your computer is included, naturally
Without
software
software,
has
how
to be
can
included.
computer
The cost of
work?
Sir,
software.
banks have got a special schemes for professionals, whether it's a doctor for practice, a chartered accountant or advocate also. There is a separate scheme wherein even this air conditioning for CS office also is included. It's all defined there. It's a loan for professionals. It includes advocates, doctors and chartered accountants also. So necessarily we need not come under this scheme. You can avail under the scheme where the scheme is specifically tailored for the professionals. So all these doubts will be cleared there only.
For example, in Bank of India, we have got a scheme called Doctor Plus. So all the equipment which are including furniture and fixtures, so
It
this
is
is
defined.
purely a separate scheme, schematic lending and it can be, so naturally when we will not go with this MSMED definition.
Correct.
So, if for basic classification, if you conform to the definitions prescribed under this MSMED Act, then we go as per the scheme for finance.
Problem is the rate of return, rate interest rates.
In the profit.
In the professional rates, you look at 13.5%, 14% on an average. Whereas here you can get a subsidy on the, means get a lower rate of interest. That's the only difference.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's different, that's
So it
different.
makes a little, 1.5% makes a difference.
So strictly as per the regulatory definition, you get a differential rate of interest. But
Yeah.
when you go into the scheme, probably little more is loaded into the rate of interest.
So if you can fit into this MSME scheme, it works out cheaper.
Yes.
It works out
But there are restrictions, no? There are certain other things which furniture and fixtures will not include. So there are exclusions are there. Probably that will not satisfy the purpose, your
They are not
purpose,
very-
the applicant's purpose.
Acquisition of commercial property will not come.
Pardon?
Acquisition of property or rentals, those things will not be financed.
It will come under that scheme,
No,
professional
yes.
scheme.
Rentals will not.
See, what he is trying to say, if you go under that professional scheme, your purpose is served because you will get loan for the office premises, air conditioning, furniture, fixtures, etc., etc. But if you want to have a concession rate of interest and go for this one, you will have lot of constraints. there are so many not eligible things. So, for the sake of 1.5 etc., you rather go for a professional loan.
Sir, I can also just prove you one thing. It can be noted that the activity should be of services nature and not any utility activity. It may be industry related, such as industrial consultancy, industrial photography, auto repair, service, garages, undertakings, engaged in maintenance, repair, testing, service of vehicles, machinery, etc. or non-industry related, such as tailoring, X-ray clinic, ISD, HED booths. So they have given some sort of a definition of the services sector.
Okay.
So thereby you have to be considered only that the professional sector is what they are now.
So basically, you do not qualify.
Yeah, that's all.
And professional probably.
Knowledge base is not happening. All knowledge based industry does not get covered up in the small finance.
See, wherever it's knowledge based, you have the capacity to repay also, and accordingly it has been separately schemed out. Whereas if it is service oriented, where the generation of cash flows has to be from the service only, and from there only it has to be repaid, accordingly it has to be subsidized. That way, interest rates.
I will repay from my use of my knowledge only.
That is the capital.
With the
That is your
Knowledge
capital.
is a capital. I get it.
With the professional, you are more comfortable
Yes.
for servicing the loan as well as the repayment.
Exactly.
And moreover, your purpose is served. For example, a car also is covered under this
Because
professional
professional
loan
normally
for
don't,
the mobility of the professional,
deposit.
whereas it may not be permitted under
Yes,
this
yes.
MSME.
Because they are comparatively safer loans. Shall I go ahead, sir?
Only one thing is that previously there was some designation for giving loan to the advocates. Still, it is there.
Yeah, I get it. On practical ground levels, yes. They don't want to lend to advocates. That is the whole problem.
That is a mental block.
No,
No, but it is at the ground operational
Yeah, yeah,
level,
I-
at the branch levels, at the branch banking level, branch manager levels, advocated for their too much like that. See,
No,
that-
that is it's a matter of perception. That is not a generalized-
they can fight out because they don't have a cost of court. That's the whole reason, and they take it to the court straight away.
Unofficially, I can say that bankers are elected to give to police people also.
You can say it's
See, that way the argument can go on.
Field people you don't give.
Ah.
People with individual address you don't give.
Yeah, that's. Anyway, we are all chartered accountants. Let us talk about CA profession only.
But we have to get all of them. No?
Ah, yeah.
Okay. So now challenges before the MSME. So since they are in the unorganized sector, as I said, the banks are generally showing some sort of some degree of reluctance to lend to them. So it is very difficult as a chartered accountant to procure finance for them, and naturally, so because of the various challenges faced by them, confronted by them. So they are not, most of them, especially I am talking about the manufacturing sector, they are not technologically upgraded because they show traditionally from the family concern it has been going on. So we have that when the father was doing the business, the son may not be interested in the business, he will have a different line of thinking, different line of his profit. So who will carry on the business? No, naturally the father will be reluctant to invest further. So it is business, it just check Zeno rather than flourishing. So this is, so technology never gets upgraded. So marketing problem, this is one because they do not have the wherewithal or the resources to advertise their products. So all these things comes into marketing problem and dependence on a single industry in many cases, especially for ancillary units which supplies lion's share, more than 50 or 50% or more of their single company. For example, the components of manufacturing which supplies to Maruti. Maruti doesn't manufacture cars, they simply assemble it. Isn't it? The main, only the critical component they manufacture, the non-critical component always they outsource. Because cost factor advantage. So what happened with various MSMEs, they set up their unit and all their production lines are confined or conformed to cater to the Maruti's demand. If that happens, the Maruti will always will have the financial plus. So it is difficult for them to get the payment in time, and also when something happens, Maruti strike happens, so many ancillary units, naturally many of them got closed or they had financial difficulties. So do not put all your eggs in one basket. So this principle applies to ancillary units also. So they have to naturally have confirm these production lines to cater to other units also, so that in case something happens to their main client, they always have something to fall back upon. So pricing of products, naturally pricing power they do not have to, unless you are operating in a seller's market, so pricing power doesn't happen in their hands. So delay in sales, delays in this is one of the perpetual problems of an MSME, delay in sales realization. So the main corporate doesn't pay in time always. So the MSME doesn't have the clout to demand the payment, they can't take action, so they suffer in silence. So even when they have the finance, so naturally the finance becomes stretched, so the working capital cycle will get extended, elongated, so they always torment the bankers with over limits. So all these things do happen.
So as per this MSME Act, the big corporates are supposed to pay MSME in a particular time.
Yes, I am coming to that. Yes, sir.
Still this problem got...
This I am only just outlining the problem. I will come to the next part of it, sir. Okay. So lack of accounting knowledge, since it is not professionally managed, so accounting plays the up slope of right. So you will take care of the accounting part. So non-availability of adequate finance, we are also there. So on both sides of the table, so you can have a workable solution for this problem. So delayed payment, I am coming to that. So after this MSMED Act 2006, the existing provision, there is a very obscure act. So many of the people are not aware, because Indian statute books mein itna laws hai, so many of the people are not aware such laws are inexistent. So now many of them, the new government has started repealing many of the archaic laws which are neither known to the people nor being implemented or executed. So there is an act called Interest on Delayed Payment to Small Scale Units. Previously SSI, MSMEs were called SSI. So and Ancillary Industrial Undertaking, it is in 1998. So after this MSMED Act, some additional provision is brought into this act to link it with the delayed payment. So for delayed payment, normally the corporates have to pay their suppliers within a period of 45 days. That is the time given. So it is more observed in the breach than observance. It is always breach. So under this act, they can charge, or if it doesn't happen, they have to charge 3 times the bank rate. Interest has to be paid by the corporate. So as a banker, so when we are financing to a large corporate, so a part of this limit which we are giving to the large corporate has to be carved out for making payment to the suppliers of these MSME units. So the MSME units which supplies, who is getting delayed payment. So if you are sanctioning a loan of 5 crores or 10 crores to a corporate, so if that particular corporate is sourcing its raw materials or components from a MSME unit, one or more MSME units to the extent of say 20%, so let us say 2 crores out of the so that much amount, so at least, so taking into account 2 crores into 45 by 365, what is the amount? Payment cycle consider karke, so that much amount you have to separately earmark or carve out from this limit, and this should be utilized. The bankers are supposed also to see that this amount is being utilized for payment exclusively to these MSME units. So sublimit has to be carved out. So this, but somehow
It happens practically.
So the provision is there, that is what I said. So whether the corporate pays within 45 days, that also doesn't happen. So whether the banker does this carving out.
On the contrary, they needed 1 or 2% ki aaye.
That's what I am saying. So the provision is there, sir. So this generally doesn't happen in many cases.
L&T Finance does only build discounting of its own dealers.
Yeah.
That is the only business it does, L&T Finance, major business.
Yeah.
It is discounting its own dealers' business.
Every corporate naturally is additional source of captive revenue for them, captive income for them. Certainly they would not like to let it go. So this provision is existing, but unfortunately,
So it cannot be implemented. MSME will never implement. Interest मांगने जाएगा बोले कर्जा बेचना मत मान.
naturally this happens. No, sir. This is practically this is what is happening. This is what is happening.
बाकी का पैसा 3-6 महीने के बाद.
Exactly. So, in the agreement, the supply agreement, the maximum period of payment should be only 45 days, as per this act. So, agreement में तो होगा, लेकिन actually this seldom gets implemented. So, the gap between the provision and its implementation is rampant, and it is there. You can't help it. So, unless somebody really takes up the MSME, they have got their own association. if they take up this matter, probably if the government sees through it and forces the banker also to see that this limit carving out or earmarking is reserving this limit for payment MSME is implemented, probably this can work out in a better fashion in favor of the MSME. Okay.
Sir, so suppose one of the such SMEs directly send a letter to the bankers who had financed the corporate in telling that I am the party, I have not received the payment. Then will you earmark that much amount or
Will you pay, not earmark, will you pay?
That's what I mean.
We cannot
Does it
without
any
say
can't pay.
without
Because
without
directly one knows from which bank corporate has taken the fund. He can write, I have this registration number.
without authority from the corporate, we cannot simply debit the account and pay now.
So in spite of knowledge of that letter or something communication.
At the most, the banker will bring a moral pressure
Yes.
on the corporate, but you pay it.
But
That is-
no
that is-
Beyond that, bank.
That is the best we can do under the
no
situation.
hero is available.
The moment that happens, that is the end of the chapter.
Ah.
The
Yeah.
fellow will never get order.
He will be blacklisted.
Yeah.
Blacklisted.
So you have to face the
So
repercussions.
even to be in business, he has to accept.
Naturally, this is the compromise.
Even if you say 45 days, government comes with a big bang and say, compulsorily, they will say, okay, this is the check, but put after 1 month. He will give you check at 45th day,
Yes, yes,
but say deposit only after 1 month.
For that, this bill
So
discounting
it's not
should be
possible.
bill discounting should be made compulsory.
You
That is
can't
only
even
self liquidating paper. If it is made compulsory after 45 minutes, naturally there is a direct liability attached for non-payment or dishonor. So unless that happens, probably a everlasting or perpetual solution is a far cry. Suppose. Suppose, sir. So in case the buyer fails to pay, this is a provision that exists in the So within the overall limit, sub-limit has to be prescribed for making exclusive payment to the MSME owners. Now the charges given to the bank, the 40% of A and BC adjusted net bank credit should be given to the priority sector including MSME. 40% has to be compulsorily, mandatorily given to the MSME and 18% of A and BC to agriculture.
What is the adjusted?
Net bank credit. Net bank credit. So there is a calculation for that.
Yeah.
So
You throw some light on the latest RBI circular where even your roads and everyone are now included in the priority sector.
roads are
The infrastructure point has now been included in the priority
when it
sector.
is a medium enterprises.
Yeah.
Medium enterprises were outside the purview of this priority sector, but they have now been included in the.
Then there is a problem. Banks will stop lending to smaller ones. They will only lend it one large lump sum to one
That
person.
is why this sub target is given.
Some targets are there.
RBI will not allow the bank to get away
No,
with
the
it.
latest circular very clearly says you give it to the larger infrastructure guys.
No,
The smaller guys will stop getting finance.
Yes, I am coming to that, sir. This problem is really being addressed by the sub-target given by the RBI, which is mandatorily, it is being, what is called, followed up by the RBI. And severe penalties are also imposed on the bank for non-achievement of target to micro sector also. Not like that.
Because our people to understand that bankers have got instructions not to give under CGTMS.
They are giving. We'll come to that in a point of time. So 7.5% of the total A and BC has to be for micro enterprises. Your answer, you get the answer from here. So there is no escape. So a heavy penalty imposed on the bank if this sub-target is also breached. And not only that, under the new guidelines of the RBI, this target has to be not at the year-end target. They have now want it to be on a quarterly basis, ongoing basis, QOQ basis. So that has become, so at the end of the day, March 31st or just 1 week before, we do some, we also have this, we do some exercise, somehow that window dressing. Window dressing, that has become a very acceptable term now. It's very, nothing ugly about it. So whatever it is, this has happened. So that is why RBI has given this QOQ target. It has to be, otherwise for that also penalty is there. Now out of this, 60% of SME targets to be given to micro units, out of that smaller units with lesser investment from the micro unit. So micro unit of manufacturing is 25 lakh. So they say 60% should be given to between 10 and 25 lakhs. Between 10 and 25 lakhs. That is even within the micro unit. So it has to be given to lesser unit. So the query gets clearly answered there. That is between 10 lakhs and 25 lakhs. So micro units in the manufacturing up to 25 you can go. But the 60% of the SME to be given to micro units which are very small. So you cannot simply give a big advance and say our target is achieved. It is not possible under the new dispensation. And 40% to micro and small enterprises to be given with 10 lakhs to 4 lakhs in case of a service unit. So this is within the manufacturing micro sector. So 10 and 25 lakhs, 60% has to be given, 40% has to be given, and the balance you have to give in the case of service sector for those units between 4 and 10 lakhs within the micro sector. That is, micro sector may be, so where the investment is the smallest of small, let us say, the tiny sector. So the banks have to conform to the BCSBA, that is Banking Codes and Standard Board of India. So all members, all nationalized banks are naturally members of this BCSBA code. So the codes, the Lenders Fair Practice Code stipulated by the BCSBA, every bank has adopted it as part of their policy. So accordingly, there is a time limit within which the application has to be responded to, a decision has to be taken in the time frame. Then also, so application or the MSME policy of the every bank should be displayed on their website. Even RBI has also come out with the fact that your lending rate, just like your deposit rate up displays are there, lending rate also should be displayed on your website. Recently RBI has given a guideline like that. So, and apart from that, an application, there should transparency. When the application is received, we have to give an acknowledgement for the application. So additional papers. So whatever we are taking from the MSMEs, we have to give an acknowledgement to passport. These are as a matter of transparency and fair lending practices. So these have to be implemented. Then RBI has also said that up to 10 lakhs, banks should not insist on any collateral. So this will take care of small units. Up to 10 lakhs, we are not supposed to ask for any collateral. Okay, for any micro or small units. Now, they have got a scheme called CGTMSE scheme. It is Credit Guarantee Trust Fund for micro and small enterprises. So the medium enterprises are outside the purview of this scheme. So it is only the smallest of small, that is micro as well as the small enterprises are covered under the scheme. So under the scheme, the Credit Guarantee Corporation, the fund, so guarantees the loan account in case of default by the borrower up to 100 lakhs. So the precondition for lending under the scheme is the bank should not ask for any collateral. That is the primary condition. The unit should be eligible for finance. That means they should conform to the conditions prescribed as to the eligibility under the MSME Act, whether it is micro or small. So in case they satisfy the conditions under the MSME Act, can be covered under the CGTMSE under the collateral free lending scheme. Then one more condition is that the third party guarantee should not be obtained. Collateral, no third party guarantee, MSME action on that, they should conform for eligibility. And recently they have come out with additional guidelines, the maximum rate of interest to be charged by the bank lending institution should not exceed their base rate plus 4%. That is the cap. So if the bank is charging 4.5 plus base rate, then it is not eligible for cover under this scheme. These are the 4 preconditions to be satisfied in case of a coverage under the MSME, CGTMSE scheme. So under the CGTMSE scheme, the retail sector advances are not covered, not eligible. Though they are eligible to be covered under the MSME, as per the MSME Act, they can be covered for our classification, internal classification for target purpose. We classify it also up to 5 crores. We can classify it as priority sector, but they are not eligible for coverage. Similarly, educational institutions, a loan to a university, a college or any other educational institution are also not eligible for coverage under this CGTMSE scheme. Other than that, almost all the items which are as per the MSME Act, it can be covered. So 100 lakhs is the maximum amount that can be covered. But the coverage is, so for a small unit, so they give coverage up to 5 lakhs. So for a micro unit, up to 5 lakhs, they give 85% of the amount in default. 85% of the amount in default up to 5 lakhs. Between 5 lakhs and 50 lakhs, they give 75% in case of a small unit. Then, if it is above 50 lakhs, the coverage is only maximum cap for the coverage is only 50 lakhs. For example, if you are giving a loan of 100 lakhs to a unit and the amount in default happens to be 90 lakhs, the maximum coverage is capped at 50 lakhs. So recently they have reduced the coverage also. So the banks are, the exposure, the uncovered exposure of the bank gets increased. So this is one of the reasons probably the banks are a little bit reluctant to lend. So for up to 50 lakhs they are giving about 75% of the coverage.
Any fees charged to borrower's account?
Yes, exactly. So fees is charged, so 1% fees is charged annually on the borrower's account. So for example, as a matter of promotion for the MSME unit, so Bank of India is during the first year, so up to 50 lakhs, we are absorbing the fees, first year fees. So second year onwards it is being got. So if the amount is more than 50 lakhs, so we give 50% concession. If it is 50 lakhs, full first year fee is borne by the bank, in Bank of India. So similar, other banks also may have probably some incentivizing scheme for that. So average it is 1%. If the unit is in a very backward area, so they give a concession of 0.75%. So if it is a women entrepreneur, etc., the concession, the guarantee fee commission is concession of 0.75%.
Sir, usually,
Yeah.
what is the rate it comes to for CGTMS vis-a-vis the professional loan scheme? Compare the CGTMS with the professional loan scheme. Here the effective rate comes out to around 11 now.
See, for example,
With a 1% plus base rate plus 4%. The
no,
amount
base
charged-
rate 5 plus was is the maximum cap which we can charge. So every bank doesn't, because in a competitive environment we cannot charge base plus 4.
What is generally the
So average so around 12, 12.5, something
12.5
like that.
against 14?
Average you can say.
That-
And
that-
finally again it depends upon if the amount is more than 10 lakhs, naturally the credit rating, it also comes into play. So better credit rated account, which is always possible, and in a very good account we also have, we give concession also. It's not like that this is the card rate is the final, it is nothing like that. So in a good, especially good credit rated account, we give better rating also, better concession also.
There is a difference of 1.5%.
Not to 1.5%. Yes. Collateral free lending up to 10 lakhs. This is RBI has mandated that up to 10 lakhs the bank should not ask for any collateral at all.
So one should be just registered under it.
Yes, if it is now coming to the registration, a micro and small enterprises need not be mandatorily registered. Only the medium enterprise has to be registered. But especially when the state government or some subsidy is available, naturally we ask for registration also, because in that subsidy application, so they will not release the subsidy unless it is registered. Registration is a simple process. You make an application, you get a provisional registration. That is not so.
So in case of small also, facility is available.
Collateral up to 10 lakh. This is given by the RBI under the guidelines for the bank lending.
Only micro and medium.
Yeah, not medium, micro and small.
Micro and
Micro and small. Yeah.
So they just going to approach the bank and bank will straight away complete or?
So straight away means depending, it's a bankable
Of course,
project. It's a
it
bankable
is-
project. So it is, doesn't mean that it is blanket. It's a bankable project. Fine.
It's viable.
So project.
No, well, that's what I say. Viable. Yes. Economically viable. Yes.
Yeah, so any project should be whatever is the line of business going to be submitted.
Yeah, naturally, if it is a viable project, a feasible project, definitely up to 10 lakh, the banks are supposed to.
Sir, this is the same regime as used to be SSI. Only the name is changed here. So during that SSI days also, the registration has to be with the district industry center, and they sponsor and the application comes to the bank used to consider it. So there are targets and clearance percentage also the banks have got targets. If DIC sends 10 applications, how much Bank of India has sanctioned? No? So the same targets are there. The only thing is the MSME. So different name, but same thing, same situation, same support from the government as well as the banks also.
Because abroad, these small industries are mentioned as MSME. So naturally, to have a globalized nomenclature. Okay.
Thank you.
This CGTMSE, that service sector also falls under the 100 lakhs category. The service sector-
Provided the unit is eligible to be classified as a micro or small unit under the MSMED Act. That is the precondition. As I 4 preconditions I said, if these 4 preconditions are satisfied.
But then any restriction on the service sector as such? No.
No, service sector, educational institution is outside the purview, and retail sector is also outside the purview. Other than that, all activities which are eligible under the MSMED Act, almost all are eligible.
Under CGTMSE, under the CGT, I am talking on the CGTMS.
That's what I am saying. So
Yeah.
first of all, it should be eligible for finance. It should eligible for the definition as per the MSMED Act.
Yeah,
Then
that-
only you can cover it. That is the basis. Minus retail and educational institution. Okay. So now so they have given the definition of collateral security. So primary security is naturally the security which is created out of the bank finance. So collateral security is those securities which are outside that for which the bank has not directly financed it. So what they say collateral security is, I will come back to the primary security. Primary security is not necessarily it should be bank finance se hona chahiye. So even if the security is required, it is an essential for carrying on the business of the firm. It can be classified as a primary security. So the definition of primary security is generally wide and large. So I will just give an example. So if we are giving a loan for a machinery, so the machinery naturally forms the primary security. So the machinery has to be kept in the plant and in that factory building. So the factory building, if it is owned by the firm, so that also can be taken as a primary. It falls within the gambit of the primary security definition. It also can be. So bankers are probably more comfortable when you have got some immobile property.
What if the factory is rented? The factory is rented, then
Factory is rented, you cannot give the security. No? You cannot give it the security. So especially this lease, the level of comfort or the degree of comfort is slightly less for the bank, because especially when the lease is a private lease. So if it is an industrial unit, so the leased land is from the government, it is a long-term lease. So it is an industrial area with infrastructure. So there may be a ready market for this. But if it is a private lease, it depends upon the whims and fancies of the lessor. Isn't it?
Such loans or mortgage can be created with the NOC from such development corporation or something.
Yes, in case of a government agency lease land, it can be created. So that's why banks are more comfortable lending. So private lease, it is very difficult because it depends upon the whims and fancy of the owner of the land. And generally, even otherwise, the project is extremely good. So I also financed in many such cases, private lease also. Because otherwise the project was extremely good. So the party was also banking with us for the last. So these are case to case comfort factors go into the decision. So no third party guarantee also should be obtained. So CGTMSE defines the third party guarantee in case of a limited company. If the guarantee of the directors is obtained, it is considered as a third party guarantee because company is a separate juridical person on that account. Okay. So if in case of a trust, the trustee's guarantee will not be considered as a third party guarantee. HUF, if it is a co-partner's guarantee, it will not be considered as a third party guarantee. So other than that, only in case of limited company, if the director's guarantee is obtained, it is defined or it is considered as a third party. So naturally, most of the banks now have, having regard to the scope, unlimited scope for MSME finance. Many of the banks have come out with specialized SME branches, MSME centers, whatever be the name. So the specialized branches catering to, especially close to the proximate to the industrial area. So naturally, this promote this finance. So there is something called cluster approach, especially so when particular engineering unit industries are clustered around a particular area. So we go in for this cluster finance, in the sense that even though the different units are different, so the problems of the entire cluster is more or less uniform. So we analyze the macro problems of all the clusters and naturally then go for the individual finance at the micro level. Because the scale of finance, more or less it will be same, it will be more or less uniform units. So cluster finance also, because we will get a lot number of accounts, we will get more, and also because of the herd mentality, what happens, then always there is a checks and balances, so it doesn't go bad, especially when compared to an individual account. So this aspect we also take into account. There are various clusters, so diamond ke liye jo Baroda hai, Surat hai, all those things. So similar textile ke liye south mein, and leather in Kanpur. So this cluster of industries they constitute. So working capital, there is no difference between normal assessment of any other unit as well as up to 5 crores. So as per the Nayak committee recommendation, we have to go for that using only turnover method only, isn't it? So we, up to 5 crores we use the turnover method, projected turnover method. So if it is more than 5 crores, we go for the MPBA, maximum permissible bank finance method. And if it is a seasonal industry, so where the cash flow is not uniform, naturally we go for this cash budgeting method, having regard to the peak level cash deficit. Then naturally many of the financial ratios, we have a lot of relaxation. So many of the banks also relax. For example, the normal DER we charge for a C&IC account or any other account other than the MSME is 3:1. We are comfortable with the DER of 3:1. Whereas for SMEs, we go up to 4 also. In very deserving cases, even with higher, we, as per our Bank of India's MSME policy, up to 5 also we can go. So there is huge relaxation in DR also. Similarly, for current ratio, as against 1.33, so we have stipulated the acceptable benchmark as 1, and even up to 0.8 also we can go. So we can go below that also. In exceptional cases, not on all cases. So if it's a temporary aberration, if everything, otherwise everything, the project is good and the promoters are of impeccable record, then we go, even the ratios we come below. So DSCR 1.5 as against the benchmark, we go up to 1.25. So rate of interest, naturally, if it is in our bank, the system is about 10 lakh. So we have an internal credit rating model. So different credit rating model for different, depending upon the threshold limit enjoyed by the firm. So we have different credit rating models, internal rating models. So based on that, so we have this credit. So the best rated accounts naturally get the least of rate of interest. So we also encourage the units to get themselves rated externally from MERA, ICRA, ONICRA, CARE, CRISIL, Fitch rating, Fitch India rating. So these various external rating agencies also we encourage, because we give concession of up to 0.5% for the best rated, that is AAA and AA rated account.
Which hardly happens so well.
Now, why it happened? So now the question is, again, it boils down to cost benefit, no? Because the charges you pay for the rating, so that should cover up by the interest concession. If it doesn't happen,
no point.
Nobody will go for that. So that is practically, that is the reason. So unless the limit is sufficiently high.
Basel 2 rating or a SME rating?
This
rating what you are talking about is a Basel 2 rating or a SME rating?
This is external credit rating, no? Basel.
Rating also there.
Basel rating, yes.
Not
Basel.
SME.
No,
The
not
SME rating is cheap also.
Eh?
SME rating is very concessional.
Yeah, it is Basel rating only because
SME
our
rating is quite expensive.
so risk pricing is naturally based on Basel rating. Okay. So margin is from 15 to 50%. 50% is never charged. So 15 is the lower floor. If for fund based and non-fund based, we charge a margin of about 20% is the floor. So if it is self-liquidating papers like bill of exchange, hundis, etc. So if it's a check also, post-dated check. So then we go for nil margin also. We have got a channel financing. So especially those SME units which are supplying to the corporate or big customers and also the dealers of such corporates. We have separate schemes for them. So it is a very liberal scheme. So under that the rate of interest also is comparatively lesser and the formalities are also comparatively lesser when you directly finance an MSE.
Mention that nil margin is also for SBLC that you mentioned. Could you more?
Nil margin for if the finance, so after sale, so naturally bill of exchange will be drawn, no? On the corporate. SME is supplying goods to the corporate. So the SME will draw a bill of exchange on the corporate. The corporate will accept it. So the primary liability for payment on due date is on the corporate. So we are more comfortable because the rating, we look upon the corporate that the probability of default arising in respect of a corporate is far lesser than in case of a SME. That is a perception under which so we do not ask for any collateral and we give full amount without margin.
No, I'm talking about the SBLC part.
SBLC is standby letter of credit.
Yeah.
Just like it is.
There will be margin also, no? On that.
Pardon?
There will be some margin also will be there, or it will be 100% that you said nil margin, nil for the against the SBLC.
No, the margin is actually who is giving this LC?
Person giving them.
Yeah, no.
Discount,
I mean,
basically discount.
The person who is discounting this, he will be giving the LC, isn't it?
Yeah.
So naturally, in such case, where are the minimum margin 10% we may take in such case.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
10% margin.
10% we take, cash margin we take. So that is minimum we have to take in such case. Especially regarding co-accepted bill, when bill is also accepted by the So many of the banks also have, for example, with Tata Motors and various vehicle manufacturing companies, we have tie-ups for vehicle loan purpose. So similarly for Tata Steel, for their dealers, so various corporates for their SME, both their suppliers, vendors, as well as for their clients, the dealers, we have separate tailor-made scheme which will take care of. So this will add to the financing of SMEs, hassle-free financing of SMEs. So in many of the cases, in most of the cases, we do not ask for collateral also. So this is the coverage, guarantee coverage given by the CGT MSE. Micro enterprises up to 5 lakh, it is 85% of the amount in default. The percentage is more only in case of micro enterprises, and if the amount is up to 5 lakh, only for small. So 5 lakh to 50 lakh, 75%, and above 50 lakh, 37.5 lakh plus 50% of the amount above 50 lakh. So the जैसा amount ज़्यादा बढ़ते जाता है, so the percentage of cover goes on increase. So recently only they have decreased the coverage. So this is giving additional like
Previously to 100.
It is up to 100 lakh full 75% coverage was available.
We took it up to 99 lakhs and then
Yes. So when we are, for example, under the CGTMSE, suppose a person is, we are giving finance for 60 lakhs term loan as well as a 50 lakhs working capital. So it goes beyond. So in such cases, we can cover one facility under the CGTMSE. The borrower or the bank can opt for covering one under the CGTMSE, and for the other we can ask for the collateral. That also, because to 110 it is not eligible for coverage under the CGTMS. So this also can be considered.
But even under CGTMS, I have an experience where they ask for collateral compulsory. The collateral will have or insurance will have.
For example, no, I will tell you, in our
What
bank,
happening, both are being asked practically. The director of घर ले दे, director of factory ले दे, or
the limit may be more than 100 lakh.
no 99 lakh.
99 lakh.
99 lakh. The scheme is, sir, understood what I am trying to say. Up to 99 lakhs only have working capital terms on combined, and they ask for both collateral as well as guarantee insurance.
So in our bank, for example, I will tell you.
I am giving the bank. Central bank is asking that.
Fine, fine. I'm not
I
saying.
give the bank also.
But
Let the result is open.
in our bank, so the branch manager doesn't have the power to waive the collateral, ask for the collateral rather, up to 100 lakh. So if he has to take the collateral, he has to take the permission of general manager. He has to take the permission of general manager. This is the situation. So the branch manager cannot simply ask for the collateral at the branch level. Even the zonal manager, that is next level, or he also cannot ask for, insist on the collateral if the amount is otherwise up to 100 lakh. No, I am saying, so these checks and balances are put in the system in our bank. I don't know about.
See, sir, there are odd cases like this. Okay, if you remember, even for education loans up to 7.5 lakhs, the government said no collateral security. I have come across several cases in Union Bank itself. I said, when we asked their branch manager, sir, हमने नहीं लिया था, वही खुद दिया. See, there are stray cases like this, but generally what Mr. Iyer is explaining is this is the.
Listen, because what I am practically facing difficulty, I am telling you, when you are saying no collateral, I am saying insisting on collateral.
Maybe such stray cases are there.
I am telling them at 99 lakhs, I am saying give me 50 plus 49. I don't want 1 crore. The moment it does 1 crore, it goes above and it goes over the head.
So vendor supplier finance, we are having these invoice discounting facilities which will be accepted by the corporate. So it will be a liability, our risk, the counterparty risk is on the corporate. So we do not ask for collateral. So we assess it as a 20% of the supplies made to the corporate. So in this case, we do not insist on the credit rating of the supplier because the primary liability, the counterparty risk is on the corporate for this reason. Guarantee of the promoter of SME we sometimes ask, sometimes we dispense with all. The corporates are AAA rated, highly rated accounts. So opposite is the dealer finance. So the maximum period available for this is 90 days. That is the normal period of self-liquidating duration. So in both these cases we ask for a referral letter from the corporate. Actually, something like a status report about the vendor or about the dealer. And especially in case of dealer finance, we also ask for a clause from the corporate saying that in case there is a default, you will stop supplying. So this clause also, because as an additional feature, additional comfort for to waive the collateral. Also, we try to get the hypothecation for the stock of the dealer as well. So we have got various schemes like even for R&D purpose, advertising, promotion, we give contractors के लिए भी, because these all they come all within the broad definition of SME. And educational institution, though they are not covered under the CGTMSE, we have separate tailor-made schemes for each sector, catering to the needs, so customized schemes. So even wholesalers are also eligible to be classified under the SME sector. There is doctors, lawyers, CS professionals, for every type of profession we have a separate customized tailor-made scheme. So even for acquisition of a unit also we give brownfield unit which is running, that also we can consider. And takeover of finance from other accounts, other banks. So these are the preliminary problems which generally the bankers face. The proprietor finds it difficult to explain because especially all these things are being prepared by the chartered, actually technical aspects. So Actually, when we have an interview with the person, so he is unable to, we don't expect him to be too technical, but at least the basic things about the business model, he should be able to, because he ultimately is the person who is doing the business, so that lends us some comfort. So if that doesn't happen, then in spite of the project being so rosy on paper, probably we are a little reluctant.
Excel sheet.
Pardon?
Excel sheet.
Excel sheet.
Yeah, Excel sheet. Excel project.
That's where the role of CA is also coming in hands.
So, as I said, leasehold property, if it is a private lease, we are generally reluctant. So, financial projections in many cases, especially for a new need, it is out of sync with reality, it gets inflated. Another thing is inculcating financial discipline, because it is my own business, I will do whatever, mera marji, so I will do whatever do with it. This type of thing, it actually spoils the business. And especially regarding the submission of statement. So once the finance is over, then literally we have to be after him for monthly stock statement, MSOD, various returns which he has to submit. So it is here the chartered accountant can play a proactive role in inculcating him as a client of him. We should always keep the track record, because now what happened, even in any of these non-financial irregularities also can be treated for classification of an account as an SMA account, so special mention account as stipulated by the RBI. So this actually goes into the track record of the SME or the borrower. So when he wants to expand, these things will actually militate against him at a later stage. And check return also is part of the SMA definition. If 3 checks are returned in a particular month, so the account can be classified as SMA account. So now this is confined only to big account. Later in the months to come, years to come, this is going to happen, percolate down to the lower level also. The delay in financial statement. So whenever we go for inspection, always say the books CA ke paas hai. So this is the stock statement which we get. So naturally in one case I asked him, you ask also, ask your CA to come there with the books. क्या करेंगे? to happen. So at least we have to have a preliminary, because otherwise the inspection becomes meaningless. So चाय पी के आने के लिए तो कोई मतलब नहीं. And record. So record keeping is very tardy and left much to be desired. And finally the repayment history and adherence to IRAC norm. Because अभी छोटा-छोटा जो customer जो बोलते हैं अभी सर एक साथ भरेंगे. So this sort of act, because if it doesn't become it becomes overdue, so naturally it gets into now every NPA is system driven classification. So manual intervention is the least now. So whenever there is a default in 1 month, immediately it gets captured in the system. So it becomes auditors के लिए easy prey हो जाता है. So it becomes, we cannot dispute also as per the norms it is. So sir, with this I come to the end of this presentation. Thank you for your question, hearing, and if you have got any other things to ask, otherwise I will stop it here. Thank you once again for having conferred this opportunity.
Questions? What is the overall percentage of NPAs with reference to this SME lending?
SME lending.
Against SME lending, what is the bank's NPA levels?
Bank NPA levels?
Yeah, per bank or your bank, whatever it is.
Our bank around 3 to 3.5. I remember, because I am not exactly 3 to 3.5. For gross NPA, I am talking about the gross NPA.
No, with reference to this SME lending.
SME, I am talking sectoral NPA.
3 to 3.5.
3 to 3.5%. Because I am not exactly sure, because this
Because banks are more concerned with large scale NPA, because these are all minuscule. 1,000 accounts will not become also 10 crores, whereas the banks are giving 100 crores, 1,000 crores to infrastructure lending, etc. So that is their main headache.
Yeah, that's the problem.
No, that's the whole problem. 50,000 people do not get credit, and Kingfisher runs away the money.
So, in spite of the RBI had to really prod the bank to bring down in spite of 2 cuts to the monetary transmission, the rate transmission is not taking place. So generally it doesn't happen in any real free market countries. So RBI have to really what you call, fire the banks to bring down, talk tough to the banks to bring down the rate. So there are so many rigidities in the system. That is the reason. So especially with the high NPA, so banks are very helpless in recovering the amount. It becomes, so what is the cross subsidization of the rate, interest rate is happening in many cases. So corporates are getting away with a very least interest rate. So somewhere, somewhat we have to make it up. So where the bargaining power is less, so a leaning tree is easy to climb. So it happens.
Thank you, Mr. Iyer, for your superb analysis on the subject. At a very short notice, as I mentioned earlier, he agreed to become our speaker. So once again, thanks a lot. May I request now Mr. Shyam Sundar to take over the proceedings further on the topic, role of chartered accountants in this field.
First, tell me how much time we have.
10 minutes. I am really sorry if I have encroached upon your time, sir.
No. Because we started late. Because people are already looking to the clock now. So let me see. Because Mr. Iyer has already covered most of the things which I have prepared. Okay. So the essence of this today's subject. When Mr. Saab, Preeti Madam approached me, I said, "What is the subject?" It is bank finance to SME. I was wondering as to how the Chamber of tax laws has connected with the bank finance. So they said, we want to have a topic on the bank finance only. So anyway, it is a topic has got social objectives.
Sir, on the lighter side, whenever any subject is there, we always keep income tax act on the table.
So anyway, I am thankful to the organizers for giving me the opportunity. Where it is? Being a chartered accountant and being an ex-banker, I know what is the role of a chartered accountant in extending the bank finance. And I am sure that out of the CA fraternity, at least 25% are associated with this kind of activity called syndication. In a normal parlance, we call it syndication of the loans. So before we syndicate, normally whenever a banker also retires, he gets into this line, syndication. So over a period of time, the number of people engaged in this kind of a line is going up. But since the banker turned syndicator knows the subject very well, so he can play a major role there. But what about the CAs who have just started? Most of the CAs are not familiar with the various types of facilities the banks are giving it, although generally they know it. So we have already discussed that the entrepreneurs being mostly illiterate, or they are not much familiar with the jargons of the banks, they are not able to make a proper presentation to the bank about the needs. See, they only know this is the line of business, this is the place where I am doing business. Beyond that, he doesn't know. If he goes to the bank wants, what do you want? He says, I want money. Beyond that, he is not able to explain to the bank that whether he wants a cash credit facility, or a term loan or a bills facility, or this is where our colleagues play a major role, and most of us are familiar with these terminologies. So the first one is working capital facilities like cash credit against stocks and good debts. This is the simplest form of bank facility available to the manufacturing sector and also to the service sector. Bills purchase, discounted check purchase, etc. Term loans are also given for purchase of land, building, plant and machinery and other fixed assets. Non-fund based limits like LC, BC, etc. Now, when a chartered accountant along with the entrepreneur goes to the banker expects the chartered accountant to be familiar with these terminologies. So, otherwise what happens, if the banker also is not very much conversant with the requirements of the party, wrong facility is given and the party also will have a lot of problems subsequently. So it is in the interest of the entrepreneur that the CA does some homework and understand what kind of a facility actually the party wants. Now the CA should discuss with the entrepreneur the requirements in detail and identify the nature of facilities required before approaching the banks. So for this purpose, he has to prepare a small project report. Now before that, Mr. Iyer has already covered the various methodologies adopted by the banks. Nayak committee recommendation is the simplest form, up to 5 crores turnover method. Now, what is the turnover method? The party and the CA should project a reasonable turnover, the expected turnover. The turnover should not be very rosy. In the beginning, a small person starting a mobile store cannot say, I will do 2 crores business. So it is unrealistic. So this is where the chartered account should help the entrepreneur that be reasonable about the projecting the turnover method. Now 20% of the turnover method he gets by way of cash credit or other facility also, and flexible bank finance, cash budget method and composite loan. Yes, for a small people, composite loan of 1 crore is the best one because it is given in the shape of a working capital as well as the term loan. It serves both the purposes. Now, for any project, whether it is a small manufacturing activity or a trading activity, a project report is a must. And then in that, the CA has to structure the capital. On one side, capital is there, on the other side, the assets are coming. So whether the capital is a purely capital or some of the entrepreneurs are reluctant to bring the 100% money by way of capital from the income tax point of view. So they will say that I will bring by unsecured loans. Now, what is unsecured loans? Unsecured loans, whether they carry interest or free of interest. If unsecured loans are free of interest, the bankers will treat this as a quasi-capital for the purpose of debt equity. So, there will be 3 components: capital, quasi-capital and unsecured loans. But the party has to give an undertaking that they will not pay interest on the unsecured loans. Once unsecured loans start attracting interest, it ceases to be a quasi-capital for the purpose of debt equity.
Also, you will not withdraw during the current
so the banks will put a condition that the unsecured loans will not be withdrawn. The rate of interest, Mr. Raya has already covered. Rate of interest has a direct relevance to the credit rating of the party. Now, if the credit rating, internal rating or external rating of the enterprise is quite high, the CA should analyze as to in which areas the customer is losing, why the rating is low. So he should try to improve. For example, the rating is low because due to non-performance, not reaching the targets, number 1. Number 2, the activity load is quite high, current ratio is quite low. So the auditor, the chartered accountant will do well in discussing with the party and try to improve upon this area so that he will get a better rating. The low risk is that the lower is the rate of interest. So the CA can play a vital role in analyzing the rating and suggest to the promoters the areas of improvement. This is the biggest and best help from the chartered accountant to the entrepreneur because he will save a lot of money in the interest rates. How much is the quantum of finance? How much we require? The methods of facility, the banks have this turnover method, composite loan, etc., etc. But to tailor-make this business, how much the party wants, the CA will be able to apply. Because nowadays, whenever we discuss with the small customers, they say everything is CA. They have a blind faith in CA because the main function of the entrepreneur is to look after the business. He has to canvass the business, he has to produce, sell and recover. So he does not want to get himself bogged up with this kind of paperwork, everything. So a lot he depends on the chartered accountant. So chartered accountant will play a major role in deciding the quantum of finance also. And he will do depending upon the business cycle and arrive at the quantum of finance. The CA will ensure that the limits sought for are neither inadequate nor excess. Sometimes the customer is too optimistic about, if he wants nearly 10 lakhs, he will ask for 20 lakhs. Thinking that the bank in any case will reduce. Okay, so this 20 lakhs is supported by rosy projections, rosy CMA data, etc., etc. So why we give such an opportunity to the banker to reduce it? Let us project a realistic CMA data and ask for the actual number. So it should not be inadequate, nor it should be excess. What will happen if excess finance is sought for? The party has got excess money more than is required, so there is a tendency to divert. So he will put the money in the share market. He will buy a flat or he will buy a car. So these investments are unproductive. So how will he repay? On one side the meter is running, so he cannot repay it. So the CA will do well in educating the customer, saying that this much you don't require. Let us wait for some time. So you only require this much amount. So inadequacy or even excess finance, both are bad. Preparation of CMA data and project report. Here I have brought out what are all generally the banks find deficiencies in the project report. The project report is highly inflated through over invoicing. The entrepreneur is very optimistic. So he is starting a factory and he would like to withdraw his contribution as early as possible. He doesn't have patience. So he will overprice the invoice. Land is overpriced, machinery is everything is overpriced, and accordingly term loan requirement also it goes up. He avails it. So project cost is inflated through over invoicing. The banks are very cautious. The banks will compare the price of the machinery which he has quoted is much higher than what is available in the market. So if a machinery of a good quality is available locally, why this man is importing? So these are all the CA will correct the entrepreneur. Land required for the facility is overstated, stating that the additional land is required for future expansion. So the customer will say, I require 10,000 acres, whereas his requirement is only 2,000 acres. Machinery is imported at high cost when equally efficient quality is available within the country. Similarly, building for administrative and other departments is planned much in excess of the requirement. These are all generally the deficiencies which the bankers are finding it. Margin for working capital is not factored in the project report. If that is not factored, the banker will not accept it. Commissioning of the project is scheduled much earlier. Now the party wants the term loans and working capital limits to be released as fast as possible, and he also wants to give a rosy project to the bank, and he wants to tell the bank that I will start the repayment within 2 years. I will commission the factory within 1 year, and I will start within 1.5 years. And his projections in the term loan, the cash flow is quite rosy, is quite high. He says in the first year I will achieve 90% utilization capacity, whereas gradually he will reach 90% over a period of 3 years. But in order to convince the bank that the repayment will start, because he thinks that the banker will be quite satisfied if he says I am starting the repayment within 1.5 years. Whereas the banker's experience about this project is quite different. So these are all rosy projections. Unrealistic production schedule, utilization capacity is projected to indicate favorable DSCR. As a matter of fact, in the first year, the utilization capacity cannot be more than 65%, but he projects 90%, so that there is a higher cash flow and a better DSCR, whereas in actual practice, DSCR is much less. Proper control is to be exercised on the end use of funds. Normally, there is an inclination on the part of the promoters to divert the funds during the implementation stage. In this area, how far the chartered accountant will can play a role is doubtful, because ultimately it is entrepreneur. See, there is a limit up to which we can suggest, but if the entrepreneur is bent on diverting or siphoning out the money, then we have no say there.
But sometimes we ask for CS certificate regarding your business.
Yes, it's always asked. It's always asked, it's always given. It's always asked, it's always given. Okay. Today morning I was with some bank. I was going through some very big project report. The bank wanted a CS certificate to be given. It is a very major industrialist. I do not want to quote the name. I saw the net worth certificate. This is to certify that we have examined the net worth of so and so. His net worth, according to the records, is 1,200 crores. This is the certificate. He does not give anything beyond that. Now, and I saw the name of the chartered account. It's not that big CA form also. It's a very small form also. So CA certificates, the bankers are happy that CA certificate is given, but ultimately CAs also are there. We don't need to discuss that also. So whenever we should be more prudent in giving such certificates also. Are we doing justice to the profession in giving such certificates also? The figure may be correct, the figure may not be correct. But what the bank wants a certificate. So the certificate is given. Ultimately, if the account goes bad, the net worth which is chartered account certified is not coming. Is not even 50% also. Another important function of the chartered accountant, see, chartered accountant is the shadow of the entrepreneur. His job starts in approaching the bank, submitting the desired papers, getting the limit sanctioned, and also comply with the sanctioned terms and conditions. If these terms and conditions are not complied, by the entrepreneur. He is ignorant. Let us assume that he is ignorant. Then there is a penalty clause, 2% penalty is there. Then the disbursement is delayed. All these things will lead problems to the entrepreneur. Many a time the promoters are unable to understand the terminology used by the bank, misinterpreting certain terms, leading to the CA will play a major role in sorting out the issues. What I was thinking, I want to request Mr. Paras, my suggestion is that if any of the chartered accountants friends are more interested in knowing the nitty-gritties of the facilities, so we can have a separate session.
Sure.
Okay, not in relation only to MSME. Today's job is MSME, but generally, whether it is MSME or a large corporate accounts also, what are all the facilities the bankers give and how they arrive at it. Once you come to know how they arrive each one, then it will be easy. Our loan will be different also. For example, how a banker fixes the LC liability limit. On what basis? Calculation. Guarantee. Nitty-gritties. How the cash credit is facilities. How the within which WCA, all kinds of terminology are there. It is better, but most of the chartered accountants who are more in this syndication line, they get used to that also. So if such a session is there, perhaps we can
have some workshop on that.
We can have some workshops also. That will be better. Okay. Thank you. Beyond that, otherwise it is all overlapping here and there only. So Mr. Iyer has already covered most of things. Thank you very much.
I think today we observed in the second session the IPL. In this limited time, the batsman first asked how many balls I have to face to hit the desired sixer, and he has done full justice in the given limited time. And we welcome you, sir, with your suggestion of carrying this forward by other workshop or other lecture meetings. Thank you so much for your efforts, and this suggestion also we will carry it forward.
Thank you.
And may I request now our advisor to give his concluding remarks on this session today.
Friends, you will agree that today we had the best of the people as the speaker. It is probably our misfortune that we all could not take the advantage of their great knowledge. But certainly, as our speaker suggested, we should think of some workshop or some other seminar on the subject where we can have better benefit of the in-depth knowledge of these great persons, and by which we will be more benefited. There is so much which I would like to speak about the efforts which the learned speakers have put in, but considering the time which is to delay now, I will like to propose a very well-deserved hearty vote of thanks, and I will say about them, all the speakers and Rekha Nayak, who was good enough to be with us, that उजाले अपनी यादों के कुछ हमारे पास रहने दो, पता नहीं किस गली में जिंदगी की शाम हो जाए. We are all extremely thankful to you, sirs, all for devoting your valuable time being with us and wholeheartedly trying to spare your knowledge with us with the great desire to share your knowledge, enlighten us about the new opportunities which we can have, and I am sure that the chamber will not miss this opportunity to have the benefit of your knowledge, sir. Certainly we will plan out some program whereby you will be satisfied of delivering your knowledge, and we will be sure to get satisfaction of having learned something from you and to improve the scope of our practice. With these few words, I will request all of you to carry out with love.
And yes, we must be also thankful for sharing that they have agreed to share their this PowerPoint presentation. It will be reached to you through email. Thank you so much.
Shyam Sundarji, thank you so much. No, I can always see to it that we get our justice from you. We are responsible for. Mr. Iyer, thank you.
Okay, sir.
Kindly help us.